So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel, man. Salute. So this video here is scientists. I say that. All right, I'll come back to that. Scientists discovers what no one was supposed to see. Now, the reason why I say I come back to scientists is because, you know, I have a kind of a love-hate relationship for scientists, because I feel like a lot of times people take what they say as fact, it's law, it's, you know what I mean? Granted, they're human beings just like me and you. And what they do, I have a vast amount of respect for. Don't get that wrong. I have a great amount of respect for what scientists do. You know what I mean? But they create theories and have theories and different things like me and you do. The only difference is they have a lot more schooling and they're specialists in their research of study. You know what I mean? They have a specialty in knowing a little bit more about their particular lane than we do, because of the schooling and everything they've went through and things that they've seen. But their findings or their reasoning are just of that as well. Theories, just like me and you. So I just have never been one to say, okay, that's it. That's law. That's what it is. It can't be anything else. No, I'll never be that person. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, we're going to get into this video. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button, join the fam, and let's check it out.
If there's anybody in the world who shouldn't be confused by the world, it's scientists. Their whole job is to make sense of the stuff that fools like us can't comprehend. But sometimes the world can be baffling even for them. These are the most incredible discoveries scientists still can't explain. Number 20. The MARFA lights. Whenever mysterious lights form in the sky, people are quick to offer up their theories. 9 times out of 10, UFO is the most common answer. But there's something genuinely absurd about the MARFA lights of West Texas. And no matter how many theories are thrown out there, none of them have stuck. The MARFA lights are glowing orbs that appear outside the West Texas town of Marfa in the desert. Witnesses often describe them as white, red, yellow, blue, and other colors, and around the same size as basketballs. Often, they flicker, float, dart across the sky, twinkle, and even split into 2 orbs. They
that would mess with me too. I would definitely want to know what that is.
Appear in any weather conditions and at any time of the year, but usually only on around a dozen nights annually.
What is it? So interesting.
The first mention of them was back in 1883, and we've been trying to figure out what they are ever since. Area settlers thought they were signs of campfire, and pilots during World War II even tried to find the source of them, but came up empty-handed. Scientists only have theories too. Some believe they're caused by light refraction in different temperatures, while others wonder if they're caused by phosphine and methane gases, the same gases associated with glowing lights from swamps. A retired aerospace engineer jumped in with his theory to say he believed they resulted from igneous rock creating a piezoelectric charge, but we still actually don't know.
Like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping.
Now, it's time for the odd topic. Now, this is an image that's been tickling our brains. A scientist discovered what no one was supposed to see. They had been there to study the canal when suddenly they saw this thing, so they snapped a shot as quickly as they could. Some say it's just a big anaconda, but others think it may be some kind of unexplained canal
That was my first thought. Anaconda.
monster. What do you think?
Anaconda is what I think.
As always, comment down below with the hashtag oddtopic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. With that said, let's keep things moving. Number 19. NAGA fireballs.
What is that?
If you're ever exploring Thailand in a post-COVID world, it might be worth timing your trip with the NAGA Fireball Festival. It is easily one of the most fascinating and mysterious festivals held in Nong Khai and Pon Pisai along the Mekong River in northern Thailand. Massive groups of people gather along the Mekong River to watch hundreds of thousands of glowing red fireballs shoot up out of the water into the sky. But these aren't well-timed waterproof fireworks. We don't actually know what they are, except that the fireballs rise up from the water in mid to late October and in early November each year, hang around for a few seconds, then disappear. Locals believe the fireballs are caused by the mythical giant serpent in the river known as Payanak, but scientists aren't so sure. They have a few theories of their own, but none can actually be verified yet. Some scientists believe the fireballs are swamp gas, which is created when pockets of methane are produced from organic materials.
All right. Now, we can't just go around saying everything is swamp gas, bro. You just said the other light in the sky is swamp gas. Now you're coming back to say this too? All right, man. Now you're insulting our intelligence at this point.
Composing underground. When they reach the surface into oxygen-rich air, they ignite. Another scientist believes a specific alignment of the moon, sun, and earth has to happen for the fireballs to be created, and that the Mekong River may provide that alignment. Many also believe that the marshy environment of the river results in phosphine gas, which strengthens that swamp gas theory. We may never actually know for sure. Number 18. The Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin, which some people refer to as the Holy Shroud, is linen cloth with the negative image of a man. Everyone has different theories about the fabric, but one of the most famous theories out there is that it's Jesus of Nazareth, and that length of linen cloth is the burial shroud he was wrapped in after crucifixion. The cloth was first written of in literature in around 1354, but the local bishop of Troyes called it a fake in 1389. It has been kept in the Cathedral of Turin's Royal Chapel in northern Italy since 1578, but the Catholic Church doesn't actually endorse or reject it. Although Pope Francis referred to the cloth as an icon of a man scourged and crucified. But because we have the technology to get to the bottom of many things, there's a chance we've actually gotten to the bottom of the Shroud of Turin as well. Radiocarbon dating performed in 1988 showed that the shroud dated back to between 1260 and 1390 during the Middle Ages. Holding on to hope that the dating is wrong, some people say that it might have been repaired during the medieval ages or was contaminated in some way. To this day, a single piece of cloth is a massive controversy between biblical scholars and scientists. Number 17. The Hobbits of Flores. In 2003, a type of pygmy human species called Homo floresiensis, also known as the Hobbit, was found on the island of Flores in a cave. Ever since it was discovered, the bones have left scientists scratching their heads. They aren't sure whether the unusual bones were a new type of human species or simply a diseased one. No one's quite sure how they got to the island in the first place. Scientists also haven't found an awful lot of bones to help them reach a conclusion, despite bringing in American, Indonesian, and Australian archaeologists to look for them. The most complete individual of Homo floresiensis found had a skull, one shoulder, arm and forearm bones, wrist bones, nearly half a pelvis, a thigh, leg bones, and foot bones. The following year, even more bones from a different individual were found, which included part of a jaw, limb bones, and the limb bones of a child. These all paint a picture of a creature with a small brain, massive teeth, 2 feet, short legs, and long arms like a chimpanzee that lived between 100,000 and 60,000 years ago. And that's pretty much as far as we've gotten. Is it a Homo habilis? We just don't know yet. Number 16. Namibian fairy circles. For decades, large, barren circles of dirt surrounded by vegetation in the desert of southern Africa have confused the absolute heck out of scientists. The rings range in size from 10 feet to 65 feet in diameter, and they cover an area of hundreds of miles. These circles have been given the name fairy circles, but
see, now that's the type of strange that's scary strange. Like, yeah, like, I don't know, no. I'll research it from here, far away from that.
Scientists don't think there's anything mythological about them. They just can't provide an exact theory with complete certainty yet. Due to the size of the area they're in, it's too difficult to conduct experiments over the whole area or to analyze it as a whole. So scientists can only really come up with sound theories. One of the theories is that because the Namib Desert is dry, water is limited and plants compete for resources. As vegetation expands and thrives in a patch, smaller plants in the vicinity can't access water and die, leaving the barren patch in the middle. But once you start exploring these circles, you'll notice there are termite colonies under each one. They burrow underground, forage for food, and destroy the vegetation above them. As termites fight over territory, they can end up with several colonies and a no man's land in between them, such as what you see in those circles. Number 15. A giant finger. When we were children, we probably read stories and watched movies about giants, but we know now that they were just that, stories. But are they? Could giants really be real? If this massive 15-inch finger is anything to go by, they just might be. Pictures of the finger were taken by researcher Gregor Spory in Egypt in 1988. He had apparently paid an old man from a grave robber dynasty to see the finger and take the picture, so there's really no way to verify that the finger is legitimate. However, if it is, and it sure looks real, then that would mean the person who used to have it attached to their hand was probably over 16 feet tall. That would make him a giant. Gregor showed the picture to different experts.
Bro, what is that to? Yeah. Cause then you see like that's this part. Then there's this part. So it's definitely a finger, fam. Like you can't call it. I was looking for any other way for it to say it belonged to some type of huge animal and it was a foot, like part of their, no, that's a finger, bro. That's a finger.
To museums, but they all fobbed him off. He said,
"We know whoever it was, he wasn't a gynecologist with a finger that." My bad, y'all. my bad.
They all said the finger didn't fit into the modern theories they already have. But there are a few theories to suggest that giants may have lived in Egypt. Roman historian Josephus Flavius wrote in 79 AD that the last race of giants lived during the reign of King Joshua in the 12th century BC. He noted that they had massive bodies, booming voices like a lion's roar, and faces unlike ordinary humans. However, scientists have always said that human-like beings over 20 feet tall are the stuff of fiction, so who knows? Number 14. Göbekli.
See, again, that's why I be like, yo, there's stuff, it's theories. Not saying they're not, you know what I mean, great theories, but they're theories nonetheless.
Tepe. Most of us have heard of Stonehenge, a prehistoric monument built around 6,500 years ago, making it one of the earliest known structures of the ancient world. But have you heard of Göbekli Tepe? This huge megalith is even older, and scientists remain a bit boggled about it to this day. Göbekli Tepe was first discovered in the 1990s in Turkey, and it's thought to be around 11,000 years old. If that's accurate, it's the oldest known site created by humans.
Wow.
But guess what? We have no idea what it's even for. What we do know is that Stone Age masons created tall rock pillars weighing up to 20 tons each, then formed them into 20 circles. Some of the pillars are almost 16 feet high and have carvings of scorpions, vultures, foxes, boars, and other animals on the sides. Some have human arms, which make experts believe the horizontal tops of the pillars represent human heads. Going by what scientists have discovered during excavations, they believe Göbekli Tepe lost its importance during the early 8th millennium BC and was buried under stone tools, stone vessels, and limestone fragments rather than being left to break down in the elements. Number 13. The Salzburg Cube. The Volseg iron, also called the Salzburg Cube, is an ancient artifact that has one big question mark over it. what is it? Even today, we don't know. The strange artifact was found inside lignite mined in Wolfsegg am Hausrock in Austria in 1885. A workman at the Schondorf, Austria Braun Iron Factory was breaking up a block of 20-million-year-old lignite when he found the strange object. It wasn't until 1886 that mining engineer Adolf Gerlt reported the unique object to the Natural History Society of Bonn. He described it as being covered with a thin layer of rust made of iron and with a gravity of 7.75. It was also said to weigh 785 grams, which is nearly 28 ounces, and measured 67 by 67 by 47 millimeters, or 2.6 by 2.6 by 1.85 inches. It had 4 roughly flat sides and 2 perfectly convex sides opposite each other. The entire way around the object are deep grooves, and these are present around halfway up on each side. Strangely, the cube looks machine-made, and no one actually knows what it is, what it does, or where it came from. It's currently held in the Heimathaus Museum of Wacklebruck in Austria. Number 12. The ULFBERHT Swords. It takes a lot to stump archaeologists, but ULFBERHT swords have done just that. We all know that the Vikings were fierce warriors, but what we find strange is that they were carrying swords that, according to the technology of the time, were 1,000 years too early. Archaeologists have found 170 swords to date that have been forged with technologies that didn't appear to have existed until 800 years after their era. The swords date from between 800 AD to 1000 AD, but the technology used to craft them was from the Industrial Revolution of the 1800s and 1900s. All the swords also had ULFBERHT engraved on them, adding to the mystery. The swords were displayed on a TV show called Secrets of the Viking Sword, and the process for forging the iron for the swords was described as involving having to heat it up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, the ore would be liquefied and the impurities removed. The iron would then be strengthened when mixed with carbon, but the technology of the time meant that they wouldn't have been able to produce that much heat, and impurities back then were removed by hammering them out. These swords found had nearly no impurities and 3 times as much carbon as any other metals that existed at the time. Strange. Number 11. The Martian meteorite. To most people, rocks are pretty boring, but even if you're not a rock fan, you can't help but be impressed by the one that fell from Mars and might prove that life existed there millions of years ago. A rock fell to Earth during the Stone Age and contained carbon-rich tunnels and spheres that hint at the presence of microorganisms. Scientists believe this is due to the marks that microorganisms generally leave when they eat through rocks here on Earth. Authors of the study involving the rock don't go so far as to say that they've found evidence of ancient life on Mars, but it definitely strengthens the idea that that may have been the case. Aside from that rock, though, scientists haven't actually found any solid proof that life existed on ancient Mars. But they have found evidence to suggest it might have been habitable, even if it's barren now. They believe water covered its surface in streams, rivers, and oceans, and the Mars rover named Curiosity discovered evidence that it may have supported living microbes billions of years ago. Number 10. The Antikythera mechanism. Have you ever stopped to think about whether what we know about ancient times might not be accurate? For example, we might think a certain type of technology existed X number of years ago, but in fact, it was much earlier or much later. That's what I'm pondering when I read about the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old device described as the world's oldest computer found on a Roman-era shipwreck dating back to 1901 in Greece. The mechanism has baffled scientists ever since it was found, especially as the hand-powered device from ancient Greece appeared far more complex than they thought was possible for the time. They believe it would have been used—
I don't know why I be getting the feeling sometimes we be acting like people from back in those days weren't smart, or like, you know, you ever get that feeling like they feel like that sometimes when they make statements like that? Oh, this is just way too advanced for them. No, bro. They were actually very, very intelligent. They can come up with stuff just like we do today. Like, come on, man. Stop making it feel like they was just walking around I'm just dumb. No, what is that? Oh, I banged my head again. No, bro. They were very intelligent, fam. Stop that. And maybe they're not doing that. Maybe it just make me feel like that though.
Is to predict astronomical events like eclipses. It has complex gearing systems, but it wasn't complete, so scientists had to try to recreate it using 3D computer modeling. They managed to create the entire front panel and hoped to build a complete replica of it with modern materials to see how it worked and what it looked like. Some research on the Antikythera mechanism states that there are a lot of fine details and complex parts to display the sun, moon, and planets.
And then what does it say when we can't figure it out? Maybe they were smarter than some of us. That's all I'm saying.
Number 9. The Voynich manuscript. It's not very often you come across a book that stumps everyone. Usually, even if you don't understand the context of the book, you can at least understand the language it's written in. But that is not the case for the Voynich manuscript. This early 15th century document is stored at Yale University and is considered the most mysterious book in the world. Countless people have tried to decipher it, but haven't been able to, and I don't blame them. It consists of a mixture of Arabic numbers, handwritten Latin letters, and unknown characters. It's so mysterious and so confusing that it's appeared on many TV shows and featured in books, video games, and music. But after 3 years of analyzing it, one man thinks he has an idea of how to translate the work. German Egyptologist Rainer Hanig from Roma und Politius Museum in Hildesheim said he believes the manuscript's language is based on Hebrew. He said countless decipherment attempts were made and that many languages were proposed, like Czech, Latin, and one spoken by the Aztecs called Nahuatl. But the word structure leaves another possible explanation.
That would have garnered them great prestige and possibly
that it was not composed in any Indo-European language at all. Rainer thinks it might be a Semitic language and might take a couple more years to crack. Number 8. The Longyou Caves. The Longyou Caves are located in the village of Xi'an which is in China's Sichuan province. They were the source of legends and rumors, but no one had actually attempted to explore what were described as bottomless ponds filled with water. One man was so curious about the caves that he rallied the community to purchase a hydraulic pump and empty the so-called bottomless ponds of all their water. It took 17 days, but eventually they were empty and something incredible was revealed. The discovery of the caves was made in 1992, and since then, around 36 grottos have been discovered, consisting of 30,000 square meters of caverns dug by hand. They are easily one of the largest known ancient excavation projects, and no documentation exists to learn more about them. All of the caverns were carved into siltstone and had separate rooms, carvings on the walls, bridges, gutters, and pools. After some investigations, it looked like they were hand-carved by an unknown civilization. But what scientists are still curious about is how they were made. The sheer volume of rock needed to be removed from them amounted to about 1 million cubic meters. That would take 1,000 people working for 6 years straight, 24 hours a day. Number 7. Khatchabib. Walls are built for all sorts of reasons. Just ask Donald Trump. But we still don't really.
I was hoping they'd make that reference, man. Golly, can we just forget that, please? I was hoping that we didn't go there. Man.
Really know why the Khatchabib, an ancient wall in southern Jordan, was built or what it was used for. Around 150 kilometers or 93 miles remains of the wall today, which means it's Jordan's longest linear archaeological site. British diplomat Sir Alec Kirkbride first identified it in 1948, and it's been studied by anthropologists, scientists, and archaeologists ever since. No one knows exactly when the wall was made, but it was likely constructed during the Iron Age, or possibly even the NAMIBIAN period. It was supposedly built and used by semi-nomadic Bedouin people who used to herd and farm in the Jordan desert. Researchers believe it served no military purpose, but instead was some kind of border made of rocks and other natural materials about 1.5 meters or almost 5 feet high. Even after years of research, there's no concrete evidence to suggest what it was used for. The closest we've come to an answer is believing it was used to divide up the land and separate areas, such as to form farming regions. Number 6. Chigir Idol. We're learning new things every day, and we're still learning about the Shigir idol, the world's oldest wooden art that, as it turns out, is much older than we first thought. At first, it was thought to be about 9,500 years old, then 11,600 in later tests, but now it might actually be older than that. The Shigir idol is a 9-foot tall totem pole in 10 pieces. It's decorated with human faces and geometric carvings, and is the only surviving Stone Age wooden artifact. Gold miners found the unique piece of art in 1890 in a peat bog. It's now located at the Sverdlovsk Regional Museum of Local Lore in the Ural Mountains of Russia. Scientists actually had no idea how old the Shigir idol was until 1997, when Russian scientists performed carbon dating. When they came up with 9,500 years, other experts were skeptical. Using more advanced testing methods in 2018, the core of the statue was tested rather than the outside to reveal that it was 11,600 years old. But technology is constantly changing, and we've been able to find out more in just a few short years. A study published in Quaternary International stated that it might be 900 years older, which means it would be twice as old as the Egyptian pyramids or Stonehenge. Number 5. DIQUIS spheres, Costa Rica. The frustrating thing about discovering some ancient artifacts is not being able to work out what they were for. As most, if not all, things had to be created by hand, it wouldn't make much sense to create something unless it had a purpose. Yet, we still have no idea why the DIQUIS spheres in Costa Rica were created, and they're now nothing more than lawn ornaments today. When workers from the United Fruit Company were clearing land in the DIQUIS Valley in the 1930s, they discovered many round stone spheres buried in the ground. There were
Well, that almost looked like somebody, not somebody, but that looked like an eye. Didn't it look like an eye?
they discovered
Look at that.
many round stone spheres buried in the ground. There were heaps of them, and they appeared to be human-made, with some over 2 meters or 6.56 feet in diameter and weighing up to 16 tons.
They're solid stone, and somehow they're perfectly round.
They looked perfectly circular, so they were definitely human-made, but we still just don't know why. According to John Hoops, a University of Kansas archaeologist, they were most likely made by reducing already round boulders to spherical shapes. They might have done this by grinding, pecking, and fracturing the stones. John also said that they most likely came from a now extinct civilization from between 700 CE and 1530 CE. Today, you can find the spheres in people's yards as lawn ornaments, and 6 of them are in the courtyard of Costa Rica's National Museum in San Jose. Number 4. The Lost City.
I don't know. I don't know why I got like a bad feeling about those rocks, man. Like, what could be inside of that? What did they? I don't know. I don't know why. I just got a bad feeling about those things, bro. That could be something inside. Like, crack a couple of them open and just make sure.
City of Atlantis. Ancient Greek philosopher Plato was the first person to mention the lost city of Atlantis about 2,300 years ago. And even today, it's still one of the world's greatest mysteries. Apparently, the lost city of Atlantis existed about 9,000 years before Plato's time, and then one day it disappeared. The biggest question scientists now have is, where is it? Many studies suggest it may have sunk into the sea after a tsunami or earthquake, and if it was truly located near the Rock of Gibraltar, as people think, it should be somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. Some people believe it might be in the Mediterranean off the coast of Spain, while others go so far as to say it could be underneath Antarctica. But now, scientists are sure it's somewhere between the waters of Spain and Morocco. Why are people even interested in finding this city? Well, wouldn't you? Do you want to find an ancient hidden city? It was supposedly a self-sufficient and prosperous city where people would grow food, rear crops, build incredible buildings and architecture, and use rare metals and alloys like brass. We really want to know more, so hopefully one day the big mystery can be solved. Number 3. Stonehenge. You can't hear all about the most incredible discoveries without talking about Stonehenge. Even people who aren't interested in history will have heard of Stonehenge, which is easily one of the most famous prehistoric monuments in the world. What we do know is that Stonehenge was built in several stages. The first monument was built about 5,000 years ago, while the stone circle was constructed during the late Neolithic period in approximately 2500 BC. Burial mounds were built near Stonehenge in the early Bronze Age. However, the earliest structures were 4 or 5 pits with pine posts, kind of like totem poles, built between 8500 and 7000 BC during the Mesolithic period.
I definitely want to go see that, bro. Just looking.
Period.
Look at that. Look at that. I want to go there and just be amongst the feeling that it gives you and just be there and embrace that. Look at that, fam. Like, how? How? Yeah, gotta go.
Scientists
Even if you're like a spiritual person, that's a place you probably want to go and do meditation and stuff like that, and be there and just sit. Like, that right there is, to me, is like ultimate history. You know how you like go sit around maybe your grandparents or great grandparents and just get that wisdom and that knowledge and stuff like that? I feel like you come here to get some of that too. You know what I mean? And just see it. Like, it's just hard. It's hard to explain, but yeah, I gotta go there.
Scientists don't know how these posts relate to the Stonehenge monuments themselves. Then there's the circular ditch built around 3000 BC with an inner and outer bank. With the bank and ditch are 56 pits called Aubrey holes. Scientists also don't know what would have once stood in these pits. Some believe they might have held timber posts, but others think they might have held stones. There's so much we still don't know about Stonehenge. Number 2. Earthquake lights. It almost seems like strange lights have been appearing in the sky since time began, but there's another unique type of light that scientists cannot yet provide a sound explanation for. They are known as earthquake lights, and they are a luminous aerial phenomenon that generally appears in the sky near places experiencing seismic activity, volcanic eruptions, and tectonic stress.
Y'all knew that? I never knew that. Of course, I've never been, I don't got nowhere, but remind me to knock on wood. You know what I mean? I've never been involved in that, but I've never heard nobody talk about the light going on. Wow, it's always just been about the earthquake, never about the light.
No one can agree on what causes them or whether there are one or several phenomena. All we know is that they're weird. One of the first records of these absurd lights was during the 869 Sanriku earthquake. People reported seeing strange lights in the sky in Nihon Sandi Jitsuroku. They appeared when the earthquake was happening, but there were no reports of them occurring before or after the quake. Lights were also reported during the 1930 Edo earthquake, 1975 Kalapana earthquake, and 2008 Sichuan earthquake. However, the light patterns and timeframes differed from the very first sighting. For example, during the 1930 quake, lights were seen about 70 miles from the epicenter. During the 2008 quake, they were seen about 250 miles from it. There have been several other examples of colorful lights spotted in more recent years, such as the 2011 eruption of the Sakurajima volcano in Japan and blue flashes of light in Wellington, New Zealand in 2016. One possible explanation is thought to relate to high stress in rocks before and during an earthquake that causes ions to ionize pockets of air and emit light. Number 1. Three-Whale Rock.
Just earthquakes is just scary, man. Like, what do you do? Where do you run? Where do you go? How do you know what I mean? It's happening all around you and up under it. Like, where do you go? What do you do?
Hinsamwan, also known as Three-Whale Rock, looks like the name suggests.
So-
3 whales made of rock. It is a 75 million year old rock at the top of mountains in Thailand and got its name because it looks like 3 whales
It really looked like whales from that aerial view.
from above, a mom, dad, and baby. When you get to see the rock from above, you can see for miles around it, including across the Mekong River to Laos. Anyone can go visit the whale family, and it's a recommended activity on any Thailand adventure.
Make sure you got your shoes on with the good grip. I don't know why. I feel like when I walk out there, I need to have a harness on and connected to something that's way back there.
Even though there are photos all over the internet of these 3 rocks showing their similarities to whales, there actually isn't a lot of information about them.
That's my first time ever seeing this.
We know they're millions of years old, but we haven't been able to find out any information on how they were formed or even what kind of rock they feature. If you know any of this information, we'd love a history lesson in the comments. Or even better, if you've been there, share your experience with us. Scientists are in a very privileged position. They get to find sound scientific theories for everything they stumble across. But what you probably now know is that's not always possible. Some things remain a mystery. Do you have...
That's a fact. Shout outs to all the scientists in the world, man. My little rant in the beginning wasn't really to come at them. It's just to say, man, you know, it's not set in stone. You get what I'm saying? But, their job is definitely fascinating, bro. To be able to discover things and figure things out, you know, is truly amazing, man. And some of the stuff we saw in this video, bro, just the history behind it and what it could possibly be or mean, you know, that was taking place back in those times is just fascinating to me. Fascinating, you know? But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think. And stick around and stay tuned. Till next one, I'm gone. Peace.